Starfox was one of the most popular games on the SNES. By using a specialised chip in the cartridge to bolster the power of the SNES, it was one of the first console games to provide 3D polygonal graphics to the masses. Beyond the flash, it was also a fantastic game. Starfox 64 was released several years later for the Nintendo 64 and proved to be even more successful. The interesting part is that there was meant to be one in between. A sequel to Starfox was supposed to be released late in the SNES's lifetime, but it was scrapped at the last minute. Today, we're going to take a look at the prototype for Starfox 2 and the reasons why Nintendo chose to leave it on the cutting room floor. The first Starfox was most famous for its technical ambition. Through the use of the Super FX chip, it pushed the SNES hardware to produce some of the most impressive 3D graphics ever seen on a console of that era. It's no surprise that the sequel was planning to build on this through the use of the Super FX2 chip. This advanced graphics chip, used in other titles like Yoshi's Island, would deliver even more impressive 3D graphics than those in the original Starfox. The flow of the game was very different from its predecessor. Whereas the first Starfox game was relatively linear, Starfox 2 was intended to give the player more control over how they approached the game. It played out in a semi-real-time manner, with Corneria constantly under attack. The map screen allowed the player to fly around in two R-wings and approach the levels in whatever order they wanted. This included missiles inbound for Corneria, battleships lurking within the system, and other planets that needed liberation. Players were also given the opportunity to choose their character, unlike the first game where you would always be playing as Fox. Different characters had different abilities. The new characters, Faye and Miyu, were glass cannons, whereas Peppy and Slippy were tankier than the others. Fox and Falco were somewhere in the middle. There were both first-person and third-person missions in the game, and players were given the opportunity to fly more freely than in the original Starfox. Players could transform their ship into a land-based vehicle and back with the press of a button. Dogfights are a very different beast in Starfox 2 compared to the original. In Starfox, it often felt more like Space Harrier, with enemies only being a danger when they were right in front of you and heading towards you. In Starfox 2, you are given the full range of movement, so you have to be aware of what's happening around you as well as what is right in front of your face. This leads to some tense duels, particularly with the Star Wolf Squadron. Starfox 2 was clearly a fully fledged sequel, and is fun to play even in its unfinished state. It was also heavily promoted by Nintendo, with magazine previews, ads, and expo builds. A good example was CES 1995, when Starfox 2 was one of Nintendo's star attractions. The Ultra 64 was still being shown behind closed doors, so Starfox 2 lapped up the public's attention, garnering positive reactions from critics. This is quite ironic, as the main reason for Starfox 2's cancellation turned out to be the Ultra 64. The launch window for Starfox 2 can be guessed at 1995 to early 1996. Unfortunately, this coincides with the projected launch date for the Ultra 64. Now, Nintendo's never given a solid reason for the cancellation of Starfox 2, but in the years since, a few key members of the development team have spoken out. One such person was Dylan Cuthbert, who was a programmer on Starfox 2. An interview gave an interesting look behind the scenes of the game's development. Starfox 2 was fully completed. I was the lead programmer, and while Giles made Stunt Race FX, myself and the rest of the original Starfox team, i.e. Nintendo's artists and designers, expanded Starfox into a full 3D shooting game. The reason for non-release was the then impending Nintendo 64, which of course was intended to be released a lot sooner than it actually was. Miyamoto-san decided he wanted to have a clean break between 3D games on the SNES and 3D games on the new superior 64-bit system. In retrospect, he could have released Starfox 2 and there would have been over a year and a half before the Nintendo 64 came out. But hindsight is always 20/20. As Dylan states, the sad truth is that Starfox 2's cancellation could have been avoided, as the Ultra 64 was renamed the Nintendo 64 and had its retail release date delayed significantly. It wasn't a waste of time though, despite the cancellation. A good deal of Star Fox 2 ended up as the inspiration for Star Fox 64, such as the free range mode missions and the duels with the Star Wolf Squadron. The interesting part is that several prototypes of the game have leaked online over the past decade. One of these releases was so close to completion that some clever programmers took it upon themselves to clean up the game's code, translate the Japanese text, and release the hacked ROM as the finished version of Star Fox 2. Bootleg cartridges containing this hack can be found online without too much difficulty, and offer a strange sense of closure to the Star Fox 2 saga.
Look, we can't be too upset with Nintendo's decision to cancel Star Fox 2. I mean, they had no way of knowing that the Ultra 64 was going to be delayed for so long. In addition, all those lessons they learned while developing Star Fox 2 carried over into Star Fox 64, which ended up being an all-time classic and one of the best games of all time. So while Star Fox 2 may have been a great game in its own right, its sacrifice was probably worth it.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of The Game Room. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter. And now I'm going to leave you with the Game Room quote of the week.